Good morning, K3. Welcome back. Happy Monday. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I'm ready for another great week at school. Get started with a good morning song. Here we go.
Good morning, everyone. Are you ready for a brand new day? Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
How are you?
It's so nice to have you here with me today. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Just fine.
Howdy, how do you do? Hello, good day. Now that we're together, learning so much fun, the more of us, the better. So come on, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Just fine.
Howdy, how do you do? Hello, good day.
Santiago and Sylvia, good morning. Sophia, good morning. Samantha, good morning. Katie, and good morning. Shaisine and Alan, good morning. Elias Phoenix, good morning. Jared and Benjamin, good morning. Akila and Kenneth, Walter and Natalie, Noah, good morning. Marvin, Trinity, Lily, good morning. Giovanni, Chloe, Jules, Seven, and Heidi,
Good morning.
Good
good morning.
morning.
Miss Rich.
How are you?
How are you?
It's so nice to have you here with me today. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Just fine.
Howdy, how do you do? Hello, good day. Now that we're together, learning so much fun, the more of us, the better. So come on, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Just fine.
Howdy, how do you do? Hello, good day. Howdy, how do you do? Hello, good day.
Good. Straight into letter sounds, everybody. Most important thing we do.
A goes A, B goes C goes D goes E goes F goes G goes H goes I goes J goes K goes L goes M goes N goes O goes goes Q goes R goes S goes T goes U goes V goes W goes X goes Y goes Z goes.
All the letters make their sounds. There are consonants, vowels, and they all have different sounds from A to Z. Now sing with me.
What do the letters say? J, K, J, O, A, Q, W, Y. What do the letters say? A goes A, B goes C goes D goes E goes F goes G goes H goes I goes J goes K goes L goes M goes N goes O goes P goes Q goes R goes S goes T goes U goes V goes W goes X goes Y goes Z goes.
All the letters me.
What do the letters say? O, what, yeah. What do the letters say?
Great job, K3, but we cannot forget our most important letters. The vowels. Vowels have two sounds. Every word you ever read is going to have a vowel. Got to get those vowels every day, especially this week. We're going to work on Hello Smart, our letter sorting. It's all about short vowel sounds. All right, everybody? Do these vowels. Let's start it right there.
All of these sounds are the vowels. Good. Let's do it faster.
There we go. Let's pick it up.
Apple, F for egg, and E is for iguana. R for octopus, for umbrella. These sounds are the vowels. Let's do it faster. Apple, F for egg, and E is for iguana. R for octopus, for umbrella. And these sounds are the vowels. Faster. A for apple, F for egg, and E is for iguana. R for octopus, for umbrella. And these sounds are the vowels.
Get up. We're getting quicker. We're getting
Faster.
quicker. We're getting quicker.
A for apple, F for egg, and E is for iguana. R for octopus, for umbrella. And these sounds are the vowels. Faster. A for apple, F for egg, and E is for iguana. R for octopus, for umbrella. And these sounds are the vowels. Faster. A for apple, F for egg, and E is for iguana. R for octopus, for umbrella. And these sounds are the vowels. These sounds are the vowels.
Nice.
Great job.
Good. K3. Let's hit up our popcorn words right away. Hard work. Here we go. Word ready, set, and if we zoom in, focus. There we go. All right.
Popcorn words, popcorn words, pop up when you read in newspapers, books, and magazines. Pop up when you read in newspapers, books, and magazines.
Look. This. Who. From. Some. Make. That sound E, make the A say its name. Said. What? Come. Of. Green. My. What? All right, everybody up and dance. Everybody up and dance.
Popcorn words pop up when you read in newspapers, books, and magazines. Pop up when you read in newspapers, books, and magazines.
What? Want. Blue. Will. Here. Under. Yellow. Where. Me. You. Are. Two.
Popcorn words pop.
Two.
Popcorn words pop up when you
Two.
read in newspapers, books, and magazines.
This is the number 2.
Pop up when you
This is
read
I went
in
to the market.
newspapers, books, and magazines.
Over. Saw. Because. Look. This. From. Some. Make. Sell.
Popcorn words popcorn words pop up
Green.
when you read in newspapers, books,
Mom.
and magazines. Pop up when you read in newspapers, books, and magazines.
Okay, great. Good job, good job, good job, good job, everybody.
Good morning, everyone.
Not quite. We already did that.
Are you?
All right, so way to get to work on our popcorn words. I love the hard work that you were doing all the time. I did want to talk about one word. This is a really funny word. Now you would think, actually, putt. Sometimes this word is putt. If you're playing golf, you might putt the ball. But we always say put, This U makes a funny sound, doesn't it? So put is kind of a funny word, and we'll talk more about that later on today in our Zoom lesson. Sometimes the letter U makes it instead of a sound. Moving on, here we go. Let's start calendar. The days of the week. The spooky days of the week.
Days of the week. Days of the week. Days of the week. Days of the week. Days of the week. Days of the week. Days of the week. Days of the week. Days of the week. There's Sunday and there's Monday. There's Tuesday and there's Wednesday.
What is going on? There's Thursday and there's Friday, and then there's Saturday.
There's Thursday and there's Friday, and then there's Saturday. There's Sunday and there's Monday. There's Tuesday and there's Wednesday. There's Thursday and there's Friday, and then there's Saturday. Days of the week. Days of the week. Days of the week. Days of the week. Days of the week.
All right, K3, looking good. Here we go, ready for calendar. It is still May. See if we can get that sharp. There we go. That looks so much nicer. It's still May. We're still having beautiful spring weather. Hope everybody had a good time this weekend outside. Got some fresh air. Let's go with our days of the week song. We'll review our days of the week one more time. We'll do the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And we also need to sing the months of the year. So here we go. January, February, March and April, May and June and July, August, September, October, November, December. January, February, March and April, May and June and July, August, September, October, November, December. These are the months of the year. Oh, these are the months of the year. Fill them with joy and with cheer. The months of the year. Good. K3, the month is May. I love May. It's my birthday. Lots of fun things going on. It's also getting to be beautiful springtime weather. The flowers are blooming. We're going to talk more about the flowers today in our food lesson also. Yesterday was Sunday. Today is Monday. And tomorrow will be Tuesday. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. On you to tell me. What's today going to be? I'm not going to flip them over yet. 9, 10, 11. Yeah. So today is Monday, May 11th. Let's do our pattern. Yellow butterfly, orange butterfly. Yellow butterfly, orange butterfly, orange butterfly. Yellow butterfly, orange butterfly, orange butterfly. Orange butterfly. What? Wait. It's like 1 orange, 2 orange. Aren't our patterns getting bigger? It's growing. We might call this a growing pattern. First we have 1 orange, and then we have 2 oranges, and then we have 3 oranges. Let's go here. So orange, orange, orange. Yesterday, let's see. Yesterday, maybe it's 4 oranges. Yellow butterfly. But I know after yellow butterfly should come an orange. Awesome. Very good. Now this is Mr. Stanton, 10 and 1. But I want to play the snap it game with you. Here I have 10. I'm going to show you some. You tell me how many I'm keeping. If I'm showing you 4, how many do I have? Yeah, I have 6 because 4 and 6 makes 10. Let's do an easy one. I'm showing you 5. How many do I have? Good. I have 5. 5 and 5 is 10. I'm going to get you on this one. 2. Yeah, 2 and 8 is 10. Good. Last one. Here we go. I have 7. How many am I hiding? Good. 3. 7 and 3 is 10. Okay, 3. Great job. I'm going to start the 100 stance, and we are going to get ready, get set, and get moving for read the self.
Do the 100 dance. The 100 dance. Get on the beat. Get on the beat. Wave your hands in the
Stand
air.
up. No sit down.
Dance to the beat. Wiggle to the right. Wiggle to the right. And wiggle to the left. Wiggle to the left. The 100 dance. 100 dance. Is a dance I like the best. Dance I like the best. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. The 100 dance. Get on your feet, get on your feet. Wave your hands in the air, wave your hands in the air. Dance to the beat, dance to the beat. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. Wiggle to the right, wiggle to the right, and wiggle to the left, wiggle to the left. The 100 dance, 100 dance. Is a dancer like the best, dancer like the best. 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60. The 100 dance. Get on your feet, get on your feet. Wave your hands in the air, wave your hands in the air. Dance to the beat, dance to the beat. 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80. Wiggle to the right, wiggle to the right, and wiggle to the left, wiggle to the left. The 100 dance, 100 dance. Is a dancer like the best, dancer like the best. 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100. The 100 dance, 100 dance. Get on your feet, get on your feet. Wave your hands in the air, wave your hands in the air. Dance to the beat, dance to the beat. Wiggle to the right, wiggle to the right, and wiggle to the left, wiggle to the left. The 100 dance, 100 dance. Is a dancer like the best, dancer like the best. The 100 dance, 100 dance. Get on your feet, get on your feet. The 100 dance, 100 dance. Is a dancer like the best, dancer like the best.
All right, K3, awesome job, awesome job. It's time for my favorite time of the day. Read to self. When you work hard and you get smarter. Keep it up. These first grade teachers are calling me. Mr. Travers, are your kindergartners reading yet? Of course they are. Of course they are. But the more you read, the smarter you're going to get. Okay? So make sure you get your book. Log on to Epic. Log on to Raz Kids. Find something you want to read. I'm going to set the timer for only 8 minutes. It's the minimum. Do more. Push yourself. Be better. Hard work pays off, people. Here we go. Reading all the time. Zorro. You hear that dog? Zorro, hear that dog? What do you think, Zorro? What do you think? Is there a puppy there? Huh? 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 All right, everybody. Look, so proud of you. This hard work, reading all the time, is making you smarter. Great job. Come on back. Come on back. Come on back. We're going to move right into listen to reading. I've got another great story for us this week. Again, by my favorite author, so I'm so glad I get to share these books with you. So take a break. Here we go. There we go. Yeah, almost done. There we go. Perfect. This book is called Buford the Little Bighorn. And a bighorn is a type of mountain sheep, and they're really famous for having these really big horns, although Buford's horns are a little bit different. Written and illustrated by Bill Peet. Buford the Little Bighorn. Buford was a scrawny little runt of a mountain sheep. Most of his growth had gone to the top of his head, into a huge pair of horns. They went arching over his back and on beyond him, and still they weren't finished. Inch by inch and day by day, they went curving onward while poor Buford worried. He was growing top-heavy, and this could mean serious trouble to a mountain climber. These sheep are famous for being able to climb up really steep cliffs and mountains. Like most bighorn sheep, Buford belonged to a flock that traveled about the mountains tops where it was all ups and downs with jagged rocks, narrow ledges, and steep cliffs. These sheep hardly ever worried about falling since they were all so nimble and sure-footed. That is everyone but the top-heavy Buford. The bighorn sheep should look like the bighorn's horns should look like this. He came teetering and tottering along on shaky legs, far beyond all the others, and to the poor ram's dismay, the top-heavy problem kept growing and growing. One day he discovered that his horns had taken a turn for the worse. They were heading his way. They're out to get me, thought Buford. If they don't stop soon, I'm sure to end up getting speared. And now his horns are even growing back toward him. However, in a few months, the horns drew on around him, not even touching one hair on his hide, on past his legs, then beyond his front feet to finally end up with a slight curl at the tips. The horn growing was finished, but the damage was done. Now he must keep an eye on the cumbersome horns with every step for fear they might hook on a ledge or catch in a cranny. Then there was always the danger of tripping over them. So cumbersome means they get in the way a lot. You can't climb a mountain really well with these horns stuck by your feet, right? There's no doubt, grumbled the little ram, but what these horns will be my downfall. One of these days they'll cause me to stumble, and off the mountain I'll go. And sure enough, the horns did cause him to stumble, and he toppled off a ledge to go tumbling down the mountainside. Luckily for Buford, his horns hooked onto a snag of a spruce tree that stuck out from the crag. The horns had saved him from certain disaster, but then after all, they were to blame for the fall. The rest of the sheep were greatly alarmed by Buford's close call. From then on, they pitched in to help. All the other rams took turns working as a team, with two of them gripping his horns in their teeth, while one gave Buford a big boost from below. How shameful, groaned the little bighorn, to be so helpless and such a burden to my friends. One morning, as he was being hauled up a steep slope onto a flat table of rock, Buford decided he's caused enough trouble. I can't let you help me anymore, he said. I'm too much of a struggle, and besides, it's not fair. So please go on your way and forget about me. His friends stood around for a while, looking sheepishly sad, and finally, after wishing Buford their best of luck, they went on their way. The unhappy little ram watched until at last the sheep had disappeared over the distant ridge. Then he turned his attention to his horns. Got to get rid of these things, he muttered. I'll knock them right off my head. And taking aim at a large boulder, he went charging first. horns first like a battering ram. He hit with a jolting kerwham to go tumbling backward, his head spinning from the shock. When at last he was able to see straight, Buford discovered that the horns were still there, as firmly rooted to his head as ever. It's no use, he sighed. These horns are mine for keeps. So I must figure out a way to live with them. For a long time he stood at the edge of the bluff, gazing into the valley far below. Mostly flat down there, thought Buford. No rocky ledges or steep drop-offs, so that's where I belong. So here he is in the mountains, and the valley is this flat land between two mountains. See how it goes mountain, valley, mountain. Then if I tripped on my horns, I'd get no more than a good bump on my nose. To get there, he must make a hazardous trip down the steep, rugged mountainside, which seemed impossible with the horns in the way. Just the same, Buford was going, and choosing a place where the rocks formed narrow stair steps, he began the dangerous descent. Descent means to go down, and what the words Bill Pete chooses. Whenever he came to a place that seemed the least bit too steep, he stopped until he found a safer, easier way. Step by step, he crept down the treacherous slope. Treacherous means dangerous. And by lunchtime, he had attracted a following of ravens and buzzards. They expected the tottery, unsteady ram to tumble most any minute, and they were all set to peck up the pieces of the jagged rocks below. If these birds get a free meal, muttered Buford, it won't be on me, not if I can help it. These birds like to eat animals that have died, that are dead animals, especially vultures. So they're all waiting for them to fall so they can eat them. All afternoon, the ram picked his way carefully down the steep mountainside without so much as one slip. Just before sundown, he'd reached the foot of the last rocky incline, where the ground leveled off into a pine forest. The danger was past, and for the first time in his life, Buford broke into a trot, leaving the miserable ravens and the buzzards perched in a pine tree. It was such a relief to feel flat ground underfoot that he kept right on trotting all the way through the forest and out into a broad grassy meadow, where someone was shouting, "Halt! Halt, I say! Not one more step! Do you hear?" Halt means stop. I wonder who's yelling at him. Look, a giant red bull, followed by an army of bellowing cattle, came lumbering toward the terrified bighorn. A beast from the forest could mean danger, and they crowded shoulder to shoulder, all set to charge at a word from their leader. After one close look, the bull scoffed. "It's nothing but a runt of a mountain sheep all gone to horns. He's as harmless as a grasshopper." With a few snorts of disgust, the cattle ambled away into the meadow, and as the bull turned to go, he said, "We'll not bother you, but there's no telling what the men might do." Buford had heard about men. Some of them killed things just for the fun of it, but right now he was much too weary to worry about anything. He sank to his knees, rolled over on his side, and curled up in his horns, and in seconds he was snoring. It had been a long day. Next morning, Buford was awakened by a sputtering, coughing, rickety old jeep that came lurching to a stop by a water trough. A man jumped from the jeep, climbed up to the tower for a look at the windmill. It was barely turning, and yet there was a lively breeze. As the man leaned in to inspect the machinery, the ram tiptoed quietly through the grass to slip in behind the nearest of the cattle. There he remained, stock still, listening to the clanking of tools and the rusty squeaks of turning bolts. Pretty soon the windmill was whirling full tilt, and the man went on his way. As the sputtering of the jeep faded into the distance, the ram thought of a plan. After this, he would keep well out of sight, and the huge herd of cattle would be his hideout. Men made the rounds of the cattle ranch every few days. Buford could hear their shouting and laughter. Sometimes they came in the jeep, and sometimes on horseback, never suspecting the little bighorn was their guest for the summer. He was always well hidden, somewhere near the center of the great milling herd, grazing lazily on the tall, tender grass. You guys see Buford? He's in the middle of the herd. This is called a herd of cattle. And there he is. After the grass had withered away into a wiry brown stubble, the winter supply of hay was hauled in. There were heaping stacks of alfalfa in every part of the broad cattle range. Its life is too easy, much too good to last, thought Buford. Sooner or later, something will happen. And sure enough, one day something did happen. It was a day in November, bleak and cold, and the rolling pasture land was white with the first snowfall. Buford was having breakfast with the cattle at one of the haystacks. It was a haystack. When over the wintry stillness came the steady humming of an airplane. Gradually, the humming became a furious roar, and the ram jerked his head up for a look. The plane was circling over the field like a great bird of prey, closing in on a helpless victim below. Suddenly, it came swooping over the haystack, and Buford caught a flashing glimpse of two men in the plane. They were staring at him. These men were hunters. It was bighorn hunting season. By the time the plane came gliding to land on its skis at the top of the far end of the field, the ram was well on his way. He went galloping up through the pine forest, his horns leaving a deep rutted trail as he went. Buford was headed for the mountaintops, where a blinding blizzard was howling. High up in the rocks, the driving snow would wipe out his tracks, and he might give the hunters the slip. But his chances of getting there were slim indeed. Oh, no, look at the tracks he's leaving behind. He'll be easy to follow. In this one-sided game, the hunters always won. And as the two men came trudging up the ram's trail with their high-powered rifles set for a shot, they were grinning. This was their lucky day. The great pair of horns would break all the hunting records with plenty to spare, and these grand trophies would be theirs in a matter of minutes. With time running short, Buford didn't dare stop to figure out the best way to climb the mountain. He reached the first rocky incline. He went scrambling up, grabbing onto the ledge with his 4 feet and pulling himself up by the chin. Then, in a frenzy of kicks, he heaved himself up and over. Quickly he struggled to his feet, and he was about to continue to climb when he let out a cry of despair. He had blundered head first into a steep granite wall. Granite is a rock. There's the granite wall. The wall neared straight up 50 feet in the air. Poor Buford was in a panic. Now he had to climb back down and try another way. But if only there was time. First, he had to find out if the hunters would come in. He leaned out over the ledge to peer down into the forest. Buford leaned out too far. He lost his footing, and off he went. The ram hit the soft snow to go rolling head over heels down the slope, his huge horns whirling like cartwheels. He bounced off a stump, took one big flip in midair, and then, to Buford's amazement, he came down to land with his 4 feet planted squarely on his horns, and the horns were gliding over the slope exactly like skis, heading straight for the hunters crouching below. There was no chance for a shot. The men leapt from the path of the onrushing ram to go sprawling headlong in the snow, and in a flash, their prized bighorn was gone. Whoa, look at that. There was no way of steering the runaway skis. Buford was too busy fighting to keep his balance. The ram tottered from side to side, which sent the horns zigzagging crazily around rocks and logs and between trees, in one near miss after another. He was headed back to the cattle ranch when the bighorn swerved sharply to the right, up over the ridge, and down a long slope where people were shouting. Lots of people. He streaked past them so fast they were a blur of bright jackets and caps. And on down at the foot of the slope, people were swarming like ants. There was no turning back. The bewildered bighorn went zooming straight into the midst to end up curved, floof, in a great heap of snow. At last, Buford's luck had run out. He was trapped with no way to escape. The terrified ram couldn't bear to face the finish, so he shut his eyes as the noisy crowd came rushing in. Dozens of hands seized him by the horns and hauled him out of the snow, and he was lofted into the air. As he was carried along, all at once the ram realized that this was a happy, cheering crowd. These people weren't hunters, they were skiers like himself. This was a hero's welcome. As suddenly as that, Buford became the star attraction at the Little Big Pine Winter Resort. A special ski lift was rigged up for the remarkable ram, so there was no more struggling up the steep slopes. It was all downhill from then on. The Little Bighorn was surprisingly good for a beginner without any instruction. People came from such faraway places as Oslo, Innsbruck, Banff, and Banff to see Buford. However, his skill as a skier wasn't the only reason for all the big crowds. They'd come to see the one and only skier who had ever grown his own skis. All right, K3, I hope you liked my most recent Bill Pete story, Buford the Littlest Bighorn. We're gonna move into Right to Self. For Right to Self today, we're really gonna focus on getting a new idea to write about for our personal narrative. I'm gonna review our writing small moments. We'll talk a little bit more about plural nouns and singular nouns, okay? So let's get down and we're gonna take a look at our small moments. When we're writing a small moment today, I want you all to focus on the first three, okay? We need to think about getting an idea for our small moment. So right now, the most important thing you do is you think and you talk about your idea. I want everyone today, think about something that happened to you that you want to share. Remember, it should be a story that you're in, and maybe some of your family or your friends, and there should also be a problem, okay? You want to think about a story with a problem. Then I want you to picture it in your minds. Make a movie in your head about that problem. Okay? First this happened, then this happened, right? Now I want you to take your time, and when I say go, I'm going to pause this, and you're going to take your time and you're going to sketch it on the paper, all right? Our mini lesson today, we're going to continue writing some singular and some plural words, okay? Singular means one. One cookie. Maybe this is a bigger solution. There we go. That's much better. One cookie, one cat, one dog, one marker, one hen. Right? One car. One friend. Right? Now, if I want to say there are more than one of these things, if I want to make this plural, if I want to say more than one, 2, 3, or 4, instead of cookie, I'm just going to add an S, cookies. Cat becomes cats. One dog, 2 dogs, 3 dogs. One marker, 3 markers. So if I spell one hen this way, how am I going to spell hens? Yeah, I'm just going to add an S to the end. H-E-N-S. And this S makes it plural. And plural means more than one. One car, 4 cars, more than one. And one friend, 2 friends. All right, there we are. So again, today I want you to just get your idea for your story, all right? Just get your idea, figure out what it is that you want to write about, okay? And make sure there's a problem and think about your beginning, your middle, and your end. Sketch it out. Tell somebody your story before you put your words, all right? K3, love it, want some more of it. We're going to move into our math today. Here we go. In our math book, volume 2, remember we're on our new measurement, chapter 8. There we go. Today, we're going to be working on page 521, comparing capacity. And capacity is how much something can hold, okay? How much can something hold? I'm going to start off and I'm going to write Mr. Travers, okay? And this says, compare capacity, lesson 6, essential question. How do I describe and compare objects by length, height, and weight? So it says, down at the bottom, explain, down at the bottom, use squares to fill in both sandboxes on the page. Tell which sandbox holds more. Circle the sandbox that holds less. So if I were to put my cubes here, or you could use pennies, right? If I fill this one in, maybe one more. Yeah, this one looks like it holds about 10 cubes, right? Can this sandbox hold 10? No, it's much smaller, right? So it can't hold as many. Yeah, maybe 7 cubes, right? So capacity for sand, this is going to hold a lot less sand, okay? The capacity is smaller, so I'm going to circle that. On the next page, we have see and show, and we have our 3 words. Capacity, how much something holds. Holds more or holds less. Compare the containers. Trace a circle around the object that holds more. Which one holds more? This one holds more because it's bigger, has a larger capacity. Trace an X around the object that holds less. Okay? Now I want you to compare these 2 containers. Circle the object that holds more. Well, this is a little bag and this is a big bag, so the capacity, this one holds more. Draw an X on the object that holds less. This one will hold less. Let's go down to number 3. Circle the object that holds more. Draw an X on the object that holds less. If the object holds the same, underline them. Oh, wait. These are the same size, right? So I'm going to do my 2 equal sign because equals means the same. Let's go over here. Oh yeah, it's almost time for playing in the beach. I'll write my name again. Compare the containers. Circle the object that holds more. Draw an X on the object that holds less. If the object holds the same, underline. So I'm looking at the play sand, and this one definitely is a bigger bag. I'm going to circle it. This one holds more. It has a greater capacity. This one holds less. It has a smaller capacity. Oh wait, these 2 buckets, these pails are the same. So I'm going to draw my equal sign underneath them because they are the same size. Now, which one holds more? That's right, this one holds more. Which means this one holds less. All right, everybody? Good. I'll give you this problem solving. I'll go through it. It says here, look at an object. Look at the object in the box. Draw an X on items that hold more than the object. Circle the items that hold less than the object. So look at this popcorn box. If it holds more, and they change the rules, you have to listen really carefully. They change what you're supposed to do. So if it holds more, you're going to draw an X on it. I'm going to give you one example. I'll let you do the rest. This holds more than the popcorn box, right? So I'm going to put an X on it. Over here, holds more with circle. But now they've changed it. Now they're telling you, and you have to listen to the directions, right? If it holds more, draw an X on it. If it holds less, you're going to circle it now, okay? Great job. I want you to finish these next 3 pages for homework. Also, check out my review. These are vocabulary words: taller, shorter, holds more, holds less, heavier, and lighter. All right? And then you can work on these pages. Love it, want some more of it. K3, awesome job today. Can't wait to see everybody in our Zoom lessons. Have a wonderful day. Study hard. I miss you guys.